South Park has many great characters. Stan Marsh, the protagonist, Carmen, the star of the show, Randy Marsh, who makes the adults look more immature than the kids, and Kyle the Jew. But all of the names I just mentioned, they are still a core part of the show, as well as characters like Butters and Stan's mom. But the character who arguably had the most amount of impact on the show, and definitely the most amount of impact in the show's canon, Kenny McCormick, has faded away over the last 10 years. Kenny was based on the real life friend of Matt Stone, and that honestly makes Kenny's disappearance even more sad to see. I mean, he literally saved the entire world multiple times, and now he barely gets a line in an episode. Season 26 was the most recent season as the time of this recording, and Kenny only had a very small role in one episode.
And the new owners are inviting everyone to come on down, enjoy, and let Dick and Balls put a smile on your buns.
Let Dick and Balls put a smile on your buns.
And when I mean Kenny had a really small role in it, I mean you can literally take him out of the episode, replace him with Clyde, Craig, or Jimmy, and the entire episode stays the same, and no one's character is affected whatsoever. And this is crazy to say, since every successful comedy TV show has that one joke that goes viral and lives beyond the show. Family Guy has the bird is the word, Simpsons have the iconic Homer choking out Bart to show great parenting, and the South Park first ever mainstream joke that did numbers for the ratings was about Kenny.
Killed Kenny! You bastard! Oh my god! I killed Kenny! You bastard! Oh my god! They killed Kenny!
Now, did Kenny make South Park? Obviously not, but Kenny clearly did a lot to give the South Park team their big break. I mean, there's a bunch of merchandise about Kenny always being game-ended in every episode. There's also references in games like Fallout in which they mention this joke, so needless to say, it was a big deal. And the South Park writers Matt and Trey are very aware of this. This is why they give Kenny a pretty big part in the South Park movie, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, thanks for going back to help for us. You're a real pal. Goodbye, you guys.
So it's crazy to think that this guy who saved the world from his PSP is the same guy who now gets treated worse than my anus after a Fortnite ranked game, and I'm not joking. But the scary part is, Kenny's character was always destined to fail. Matt Stone and Trey Parker once said that they felt like Kenny was just an orange blob on screen, and yeah, I kind of understand that. The South Park writers also said that the Kenny constantly dying jokes got stale around season 5, and this all makes sense because as Kenny was losing momentum, especially with the creative team, the show had another character rising with some momentum we haven't seen since the Germans back in World War II, and that character literally stole the entire show.
Everyone knows it's Butters!
That's me!
The South Park writers made Butters replace Kenny, and it's actually scary how true this is, since Butters' very own episode came out the exact same season when the writers said that Kenny is just an orange blob on screen. And one thing that you need to know to fully understand how much they tried to replace Kenny out of the show is the fact that the episode where Kenny officially dies came out 1 week before they gave Butters his very own episode. That is actually really dark if you think about it, because that Kenny episode is easily one of the saddest episodes of TV I've ever seen. And I've watched the Simpsons Guy episode back in 2014, so I've seen some pretty heart-twisting stuff.
I'm sorry we fought. I just wanted to make you laugh and cry. You see, I'm a family guy.
I understand. I'm The Simpsons.
But luckily Matt Stone and Trey Parker brought Kenny back a little while later because they realized how core Kenny is to the show, and removing him is almost as bad as removing someone like Kyle or even Randy Marsh off the show. And I love how they brought him back. Kenny comes back in the Christmas special episode where unfortunately Jesus dies a third time, and Kenny just shows up at the end like nothing happened. And as I was doing research for this video, I did see that the writer said that Jesus dying in this episode led to Kenny's resurrection, which we will talk about later on. But Kenny comes back and it's actually really good. He has a lot more grounded plot lines. Instead of him saving the world, they give him storylines that really match his character. Like he falls in love with a girl that everyone calls a hoe, but Kenny doesn't care about body count and he likes it. And then Kenny goes down a very respectable route that every father would love to see. He gets addicted to cat urine.
Oh boy, he's cheesed out of his mind. Kenny!
Being happy is being happy, even if your happiness comes from cats urinating on you. But Kenny did maintain a decent run around these seasons. Now there was a little bit of an issue, and that was whenever Kenny would be with the guys, he really couldn't add much to the plot. And it makes sense. No one knows what this orange winter ninja is saying half the time. And a lot of his episodes were mainly about Kenny specifically, so he still kind of felt like an outsider.
Alright, dude, get in his bed. Alright, but you guys owe me for this. Dude, whatever, at least you finally get to do something.
But all of that would change very quickly, and Kenny was about to hit an insane peak that probably no South Park character has hit in a long time, and that is Kenny's Mysterion arc.
I might be Craig, and then again I might not be. My identity must remain a secret. You cannot know.
Yeah, well, you cannot know my true identity either.
I assume you must be Cartman, because you're fat.
Now the first Coon episodes was just for laughs and giggles, and to make your booty bounce and jiggle, but in season 14, we get the Coon and Friends saga, and this was a monster of its own, and Kenny shined brighter than Randy Marsh when he said the N-word on national TV. These Coon and Friends episodes was basically a world building of Kenny's character. Now obviously the boys just said, hey, let's pretend we all have superpowers, and the boys start pretending they can fly and shoot lasers out of their eyes, and Kenny's superpower was that he can't die. But the problem is, Kenny literally can't die. He's telling the truth. This was such an insane plot line, since us the viewers know that Kenny is speaking facts, but South Park writers gave us so much to the lore of Kenny not being able to die, which adds lore to another Kenny episode as well.
Go Chico, go Chico.
My little angel, yes.
Oh, he's so beautiful. I know it's been hard on both of us losing poor Kenny, but this new baby kind of reminds me of him.
What should we name him?
Well, seeing as though Kenny passed away, maybe we should name him, Kenny. God, this must be the 50th time this has happened.
52nd.
What?
It's happening again.
We should have never gone to that stupid cult meeting.
This was such an insane plot twist, since Kenny knows every time he dies, he knows he's going to see heaven or hell for a little bit, and then he's gonna wake up and go to school the next day. Kenny remembers all of this, and it honestly makes the first few seasons 100 times better, since now you can watch all those seasons with the knowledge that Kenny knows he just died in the last episode, and every time he dies, it stays with him. This is honestly an eerie level plot twist. Like, how much more in depth can you go for a character who says like 3 words the entire show that aren't mumbled? You just can't. It's literally insane. This Kenny plot twist felt like a better executed version of Attack on Titan's plot twist of Eren seeing everything and telling his dad to screw around and have fun and kill the royal family. Like, that's how insane this Kenny plot twist is.
Oh! Do you know what it feels like to be stabbed? To be shot? Decapitated? Torn apart? Burned? Run over?
Kenny, calm down.
And it won't go away, and nobody will believe me! Remember this time!
Oh my god!
Unfortunately, the momentum did not carry over. Now that's not a totally bad thing, because it would have been really hard maintaining that peak for the rest of the series, but something was a bit off. The next season, season 15, there are at least 3 really emotional episodes, and you would think they would go to Kenny. But no, Stan was the one who became depressed. Now I'm not saying Stan becoming depressed and disassociated is a bad thing, because it does make sense for Stan as well. His parents are constantly arguing, he doesn't have a good relationship with Shelly, or even Wendy for that matter, and he hasn't been passionate about much since the earlier seasons. But in fact, I gotta say I really like what they did this season, because in this season, Kenny still got a Mysterion episode, and I love what it does for Kenny. It shows the 2 sides of trauma. Kenny and Stan have both been through a lot. Kenny also has parents fighting all the time, and he literally dies all the time, and remembers it. And I love what they did. They made Stan the depressed alcoholic, and they made Kenny almost a hero, who doesn't use his trauma to justify him being selfish, and I love that.
Mind your business, Peter Pan.
Karen McCormick is off limits. Do you understand?
But unfortunately for Kenny, that was basically the last we've seen of him. That's the last time he had a really big hit. He did have some good episodes, like a major role in Cock Magic and the Princess Kenny saga, but that was mainly it for Kenny, and we are on season 27 this year, so it's been over a decade since Kenny has had a really big peak. But there could be some hope here. Matt Stone and Trey Parker clearly know that Kenny has lost a lot of his screen time over the years, and they have vocalized it in the show. In season 22, episode 5, which came out on Halloween Day, which was cool, the writers basically acknowledged through Mr. Mackey that they know that Kenny has been forgotten.
Yeah, you're right. You're a good kid, Kenny. I always thought so. I know we kind of all forget about you sometimes, but you're smart, compassionate. You might even make a good counselor someday.
Now it's not all good news. A year later, they kinda make fun of Kenny during the Paramount specials. The boys treat Kenny as someone they don't want to be around. They treat him like a random guy who just follows the group around, which is really sad to see, since Kenny has literally done so much for them, but the boys just don't seem to appreciate him.
Look, let's just face it, you guys. We don't trust each other and we don't like each other. We can't keep pretending.
Are you seriously saying what I think?
Alright, guys. I guess it's time we had the talk we never wanted to have. Kenny, you want to go get on your iPad for a minute?
What? No, I don't want to.
We need to talk for a second, Kenny.
Luckily they did figure it out, and Kenny did finally hit another good peak. Obviously not a Mysterion level peak, but probably a higher peak than characters like Kyle or even Butters have hit in the last decade, and that was in my favorite Paramount special, and that was when adult Kenny becomes the hero and was basically changing the entire world, like he always did. And this episode showed that Kenny loved the boys more than Jeffrey Epstein loved his boys, and that Kenny will forever be the glue that holds the show together, and even characters like Tweek and Butters can't replace him.
As we commit this young child to the earth, let us all be reminded that syphilis is still a deadly disease, and it can be caught even if using protection. This young boy learned the hard way.
I told him. Woman's mouth is the most germ-ridden place on earth, I said.
Now we do have to wait a bit since this special came out in 2021, and we have only had 2 shortened seasons since then, and like I said, we did have 1 Kenny episode, so Matt and Trey could find some creativity with him in the near future, so I'm excited. And Kenny does have a boss fight in the promotion of the new South Park Snow Day game, which I can't wait to play. Only a week or 2 left until it comes out, so I'll definitely make a video on that game. But that's it for this video. Like, subscribe, and peace.